Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's JB the Ranch Mechanic, and today is tuning day. I actually recorded lots of other footage for this process a couple weeks ago. I did some data logging with the truck, and I pulled the stock tune files and stuff off of the truck and sent all that over to Justin at Black Bear Performance, and I had videotaped all of it. And then we went on vacation for the 4th of July last week, and I must have been super tired trying to make room on my phone for videos from our vacation, and deleted everything. I'm not really sure how I manage to do that sometimes and why I don't double check stuff before I hit that delete button, but I lost all that footage. So we're going to start from scratch here. Let me explain to you what I'm doing. We're sitting in our 2018 Silverado right now. This is a LT Z71 with the 5.3 liter V8 in it. And I have done what's called data logging, which is basically you drive around for about a half hour or so, and you want to do a couple of wide open throttle rips, just any kind of terrain that you normally drive in or whatever. You want to record what the engine and transmission are doing when you're encountering that terrain, and then you send that over to Justin, and what he'll do, he'll look at all the data that you record for your conditions and your driving style, and he'll tune the truck accordingly based on what you want and your elevation and your modifications you have and whatever other requests that you might have. So what I've requested from him is a moderately aggressive 91 octane tune with moderately aggressive shifts and like almost no torque management. Torque management is a software that GM programs into their transmissions that makes the transmissions, live a really long time, but it really kind of stunts your ability to get power to the ground. I have removed almost all of the torque management from my Tahoe sitting over here, and that thing's been tuned for 6 years now, and it's got almost 200,000 miles on it, and it runs flawlessly. It's great. I mean, it has a little bit of an oil pan leak. That's the only thing wrong with it. That truck is fantastic. So, yeah. So we're going to do the same thing with this truck. We're going to remove most of that torque management. We're going to firm up the shifts. We're going to take a lot of slop out of the factory tune. GM leaves quite a bit on the table, at least for the Tahoe. That was the case. They leave quite a bit on the table for an aftermarket tune to really clean things up and give you a little bit more power. So that was what the process was. Just shy of 2 weeks ago, like a week and a half ago, I did the data logging. I sent everything over to him. Today's Thursday evening. And we're going to go ahead and I want to drive the truck real quick just to get a feel for how it is stock. And then we're going to flash the tune onto it and just see if we can learn the difference. So I'm going to get going here, start the truck up and go for a quick drive, and then we'll flash the new tune and we'll go from there. And just as an aside, unfortunately, a couple of weeks back, we were coming home from town, and right as we went around one of the really sharp blind curves, just adjacent to the ranch down here by the haystack, there was a deer, a very young deer, sleeping in the sagebrush right next to the fence. So it was basically sagebrush, fence, road, and a curve. So there's really no place to go. The deer jumped right into the path of the truck. There was nothing that she could do. We had literally zero reaction time. I mean, like, we both saw it at the same time. She slammed on the brakes, but by the time we hit the brakes, she had already hit the deer, and it just went barreling down the road, probably 8 or 10 times. It died almost immediately. And we were only going about 30 miles an hour. No airbag deployment, no real obvious damage to the truck from more than 20 or 30 feet away. But it did push in the entire bumper. It popped the grill out. It cracked the paint. It dented a whole bunch of stuff. I'll roll in a clip real quick and just show you the damage. Yep, so we popped our grill out right there. Hit right about here. It was a real small one. But unfortunately, it got the bumper all goofed up, cracked the paint in several places, bent everything in. And then it's real noticeable from the front. If you look how nice and tucked up it is on the left side there. Hey, Riley. You can see here it's all tweaked and pushed back. Right there, same thing. So that's $3,000 worth of damage right there, believe it or not. Hey, doggo, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What, have you been eating grass? What the heck? What are you doing, dog? What are you doing, dog? Oh, hello. Oh, that's the good stuff right there. Oh, she's down. Oh, she's down. Oh, she's down. All right. Okay, I got stuff to do. Go on. Come on, let's go. Let's go. But yeah, I got an estimate back from the insurance company. That's almost $3,000 worth of body damage, if you can believe that, with hardly anything visible. But, you know, that'll end up being good. The front bumper of this thing basically looks like it's been shot with the 12-gauge shotgun. I mean, there's so much paint missing on the lower valance and everything, just because we've put so many miles on this thing. We've driven it all over the country, lots of highway travel, so, you know, rocks and stuff from semis get thrown into it. So it'll be kind of nice to get the grill and the bumper replaced. I'm not sure if they're going to replace the fog lights or reuse them or whatever. I looked at the estimate real briefly, but I was kind of taken back by the cost. But luckily, we have a $100 deductible, and it's covered under our comprehensive plan instead of our collision plan, so my rates aren't going to go up because it was a deer, and there was really nothing that we could do about it. So anyway, enough about that. We're going to go drive this thing, and then we're going to tune it. So here we go. All right, so this is my designated quasi-straightaway, even though the gravel's all torn up. But we're just going to punch this thing from a dig and just see how well it does. We're going to go up to maybe 50, maybe 60 miles an hour if we can get away with it. There's a lot of deer and stuff running around. I don't want to have a repeat of what happened the other night, so I'm going to be very cautious about this. And I am wearing my seatbelt this time, as you can hear. There's no chiming going on. So anyway, we're just going to, like I said, give this thing some throttle and see how it feels, and then we'll tune it and do it again. There's 65. We also have the neighbor's cows on this stretch of road right here, and they're dumber than boxes of rocks because they're cows, so they like to jump in front of people. And on top of that, there's little calves running around everywhere too. They're really stupid because they don't know anything about anything, so they'll just jump right in front of you, so you got to be careful. But this thing feels pretty dang fast even without it being tuned, so I'm kind of interested to see what kind of improvement we're going to see. But mostly it's just like you push the throttle down. Like I had the throttle pushed down for a couple of seconds before it downshifted and took off again. That's the kind of thing that will really be improved with this tune. It doesn't necessarily generate a ton more power, but it just makes the power that's already there a lot more usable. It just gives you access to a lot more of it, and it really just snaps things up a bit. The response is going to be a lot better, and the downshift is going to be quicker. The shift firmness is going to be pretty substantially increased. So yeah, we're going to pull over right here, and we're going to flash this tune on real quick. So I'm just going to stop here. I can find a good place to pull off.
2 hours later.
Alright guys, the 19th time must be the charm here. I was having issues with getting the VIN license to take. The truck wasn't recognizing anything, so now that my screen's completely washed out, because it's so much brighter than what the phone can tolerate, we're going to scroll over to our tunes here. Program 1 is with AFM, Program 2 is without, so we're going to go without the AFM for right now. It's going to run through its little self-check thing. And now, since this is the first time we're tuning this vehicle, it's probably going to prompt me to lock it in. Yep, okay, so there we go, license ECU. Am I sure? Yes. It's erasing the stock file. And now we're flashing. Okay, finally it's working. Now that it's nice and freaking dark out. Alright, I'll bring you back as soon as it's done. Alright, it's done. Prompts me to turn the ignition off. You hit OK, and then it gives you a countdown timer for I think 20 seconds. Yep. So now we wait 20 more seconds. And I do believe that's just to give the capacitors and the ECU and stuff time to wind down. Okay, that should be good. Turn our key back on here, and then we'll flash the transmission tune, which should be the very next one. TCM, that's transmission control module. Checking. And now we're flashing this one. I'll bring you right back. Okay, ignition off now. Okay, easy as that. We got our transmission tune installed. We're gonna go for a drive. So we should have the ECM and the TCM flashed on here. Hopefully the truck starts. I guess we'll find out. Okay, we're running. Let's go for a spin, shall we? I'm a little bit leery about doing any like crazy wide open throttle pulls here just because all the animals and cows and whatnot in the roadway. But I do want to kind of goose it from a dig right here once we get off this little hill. So we're gonna try this again. See what kind of difference we notice. I'm just gonna punch it from a dig here. Oh yeah. Okay. That made a difference. Made a big difference. Let's just drive it normally now. Let's see if we can get that 1-2 shift. Yeah, it definitely feels like it wants to pull more. There's a deer. So I don't want to go too fast through here. All right, now we'll see if we have our basically tow haul mode is now sport mode, so that should max out the transmission line pressure. That's not nearly as firm as the Tahoe, but in the defense of the tune, these are computers. The engine and transmission need to learn the parameters of the new tune before they're going to respond completely perfectly. Especially with these newer 6-speed transmissions, they need time to kind of learn what's up. So I'm just gonna drive this thing for a bit and enjoy it. Okay guys, been driving it now for about 15 minutes. I just drove down to the gas station by the highway. I was gonna clean the bugs off the windshield so I can actually see what I'm doing, but both of the windshield cleaner stations are completely bone dry and full of dirt. Go figure, it's a drought. So I've got the camera facing me. It's set up in the cup holder mount thing. But unfortunately, you're probably not going to be able to see me very well once we actually get moving. But what I want to do is, now that we're stopped, I'm going to do a data log. And that's how you do a data log with this thing. It just says record data. Just hit OK, and it'll actually record a data log for you right on the AutoCal. And then you send, basically once you install the tune, you do a data log. And you send that over to Justin and Jared and everyone over at Black Bear. That way they can review it and look at everything and make sure that the tune is performing how it's supposed to and make sure there's no critical errors that are going to damage your vehicle or anything like that, which is exceedingly rare. That really can't happen. But I just want to make sure that the tune is doing everything it's supposed to do. So we're going to do that. We're going to record a data log for them real quick. And yeah, we're going to head home. So I've noticed right away, I mean, like I said earlier, it does take a little bit of time for the computer to kind of relearn the new tune parameters, but even now, just driving it for 15 minutes, I can tell there's a much more peppy throttle response. The downshifts are much snappier and faster. It responds to your throttle inputs a lot more easily. It's got a little bit more grunt, especially at the low end. It feels good. It feels good to drive. So I'm really happy with it so far, and it will only get better with, with time over the next few days as it gets driven more and more and kind of relearns everything. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. We've got our data log going. Please wait. Waiting. Starting scanner. All right, and then it'll display a timer for you. That's how long you've been recording. So we're just going to set that down, start the truck, and go for another drive. Heading home now. So we're going to get on the highway, go down to the next exit, and head back up, head back to the house. So off we go. Like I said, you're probably not going to be able to see me. Let's see if I can get away with driving with that on. Not the greatest idea, but let's see what happens here. it wants to go. You can tell it wants to go. So that's good. That's a really good thing. All right, getting on the highway now. Oh yeah. He raised the rev limiter too. Oh, that puts a smile on my face. This thing rips. There's 90. Wow. That is a very noticeable difference. Just raising that rev limiter and letting it wind out a bit more before it shifts, and then the firmness of the shifts, that makes a big difference. This thing feels like not a totally different truck, but a much improved truck. That's for dang sure. So I'm super happy with that. That's awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to continue recording this data log. I'm going to turn the camera off since you really can't see me that well anyway. And then we'll come back here in the morning when we got more light, and I'll conclude this whole thing and tell you my final thoughts on it. A couple more things, guys, just for posterity's sake while I'm thinking about it. I did end up resetting our average fuel mileage. We are averaging 16.7 right now, as you can see there. That is actually up from 16.5 yesterday, and the truck hasn't been driven really since then. So that's basically since I started this little test rip. We'll see over time with my wife driving this thing how much the fuel mileage increases, if at all. Hopefully it does actually go up a little bit here. And again, remember, this is the tune without active fuel management. We disabled AFM. So we'll have to see how that goes. And also another thing I asked Justin to do is, you know that if you've got one of these trucks, I think it's the 2014 to 2018 Silverado, if you've got one of those trucks, they will not rev up past like 2,800 RPM if you have it in park or neutral. So I had Justin eliminate that. So now I get to actually enjoy the sound of my exhaust. Anyway, that's going to be it for now, guys. Talk to you in the morning. All right, everybody. Well, it's not the next day. It's actually a couple days later. It's Sunday morning now. Had the opportunity to drive the truck a couple of times since Thursday. Went into town with it yesterday. Shifts have improved a little bit more since we first started this. Drivability has improved a little bit. I still may have Justin tweak the settings a little bit and reflash it, depending on how it ends up being here in the next, couple of weeks. But, we only go into town a couple times a week, so it's not like we drive this truck every day. So I'm hoping that with a little bit more time, it'll end up getting even better. But I'm going to jump in here. I'm sitting in the truck right now, obviously. But I'm going to go ahead and start it up here and go for a quick drive. It's very hazy, very smoky today. The Beckwurst Complex fire out in Reno on the other side of the state. The winds are blowing west to east right now, and we're getting a lot of the smoke and haze from that fire. Huge fire, almost 84,000 acres as of this morning. It's bad. It's a pretty big one. So it's fire danger season right now, and Nevada is definitely having a pretty bad time west of here. So if you're at the praying type, I would encourage you to pray for those who have been affected by it and have to evacuate. So anyway, we're going to fire this thing up, go for a quick drive, and yeah, I'll keep chatting about it here once we get going. So stand by. Okay, I think I got that thing set where I want it. Go ahead and fire the truck up here. It's a nice cold start there. First time it'd been started since last night. Go ahead and throw the windows up now. Go for a little drive here. And like I was saying, it's going to take some time, a little bit more driving before we're really going to know how well the transmission is responding to the tune. But if necessary, if I really need to, I can always email Justin and have him write a slightly different transmission tune for me that I can reflash onto here. The engine tune, I think, is fine. It's the transmission that might need to be tweaked a little bit. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. It absolutely makes a huge difference in the drivability of these trucks. And like I mentioned before, it doesn't necessarily, it will bump up your overall power and torque a little bit because you're changing your fueling, your timing, things like that. But more than anything else, it's just unlocking the potential of the power that's already there. And it just makes the entire driving experience better because all of that power will actually get to the ground a little bit more efficiently. So when you step on it, it really pushes you back now, you know. Again, I've been a customer of Black Bear Performance since 2008 when they tuned my 2000 GMC Yukon. That was the first tune that they ever did for me. And I've been using them on pretty much every GM vehicle I've ever owned since then, and I've always been really, really happy with the end result. This is no exception. It's a little bit different being that it's a newer truck with the 6-speed transmission, so it's taking a little bit more time for the truck to kind of come around to the tune, because that's just a function of the transmissions. They just kind of do their own thing. But the difference is remarkable. It's very noticeable. The downshifts are much faster. The throttle response is much faster. Even if you just if you're coasting and you just slightly put your foot on the throttle, you can feel it immediately start pulling again, rather than just kind of being sluggish and just kind of waiting for you to push harder and harder. And then if you really put your foot in it, the downshifts are pretty much immediate. So again, just those couple little changes completely transform the driving experience for you, because even though you're not making a ton more power, it's just there, it's on tap for you when you want it. So final thoughts on this whole thing as of right now is that the transmission might need a tweak. I'm going to give it some more time, but the engine tune is perfect. It really feels good. It's a 91 octane tune with no active fuel management. We've disabled AFM. And disabling AFM is just the electronics. We've disabled the computer from commanding AFM to engage. I haven't actually physically removed any of the equipment from the valve train. Eventually, I actually kind of would like to do that so I can cam this truck. But that's something for much farther down the road. This is still my wife's daily driver, and she's already a little bit upset with me for doing the exhaust and everything else. But she's okay with it. She's living with it. She's not mad. She's just irritated that I did it without telling her. So this mount sucks. It keeps sliding over to the side, guys, so sorry about that. Time to get a different mount. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up. If you have a GM vehicle, 96 or newer, I really, really recommend Justin over at Black Bear Performance. Even if you don't want to plunk down the money for an AutoCal or AutoCal V3, they do what's called scan cable tuning, where they'll actually send you out an EFI Live flash scan module. You can hook it up to your truck and your laptop, and you can actually do your data logs that way. And then rather than reflashing the tune onto your truck, they'll just send you a completely new ECM and TCM that you just install. And then because you're actually replacing the computer, you have to do what's called a case relearn. At least that was the case with my Tahoe, because I did a flash scan tune, a scan cable tune with the Tahoe before I actually purchased the AutoCal. So originally when I did the Tahoe's tune, it wasn't done with the AutoCal. I didn't flash it on myself. They actually sent me a replacement TCM and ECM that I installed myself. Very, very simple process, at least on the Tahoe. I'm not sure where they are on this truck. In the Tahoe, they were both right next to each other in the engine bay. I think that it's pretty much the same for the newer trucks. But there are options out there for you if you don't want to spend the money on an AutoCal right now. So tune your trucks, guys. It really does make a difference in the overall drivability. Just whatever modifications you end up making or whatever, I would encourage you to kind of get those installed prior to the tune. That way you're not, having to retune stuff later on. So if you're going to do an intake or an exhaust or whatever, install that stuff first and then pull your data logs, and that way Justin can kind of compensate for that in the final tune. But as always, reflashes are free for as long as you own the vehicle. So if you decide you want to throw on a supercharger or a turbo or some other kind of forced induction, or if you want to cam your truck or do some other kind of project with it that's going to change the way the engine needs to respond or change your fueling and timing requirements, Justin will accommodate for all of that for you for free. Updates are free for as long as you own the vehicles, which I think is really cool. So again, blackbearperformance.com. I'm not affiliated with those guys. I'm not sponsored by them. It's just I'm a long-time customer, and Justin does outstanding work. I trust him. I trust his judgment. I trust his ability to get my truck exactly where I want it, and I would recommend him to get your truck exactly where you want it. So 2 thumbs up for Black Bear Performance. Justin is great at what he does. He's been doing this a long time. Check him out if you want to get the tune. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I hope this was informative for you. If you like this video, click that like button. If you want to subscribe and follow along, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. There should be a pop-up window showing up. Click the round circle with the 2 American flags on it. That's my subscribe button. And follow along with the channel. So until next time, guys, you have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will catch you on the next one. See ya.